What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about current news in Norway. Because as an American, I never hear about Norwegian news here in the United States. So today, I want to take some time to learn about the current news and events happening in Norway that I otherwise never get to hear about. So let's take a look, starting with calls go out to abolish Norway's monarchy and insure it? Wait, what? What? This sounds like a big deal. Wait a minute, what? Am I understanding this? Calls go out to abolish the Norwegian monarchy? Why? I know that the royal family has had some drama in the last few months. Now people want to abolish the royal family, like get rid of it? Recent royal scandals have sparked a call for a referendum to decide whether Norway should abolish its monarchy and become a republic? Whoa! Wow, how serious is this? How serious is this? Are Norwegians really talking about this? That's something I'm not sure about. Are people really adamant about this? Like passionate about getting rid of the Norwegian royal family? That's a big deal. At the same time, a majority in parliament wants to let the country's young princess be able to step in as regent if the need arises, while a police investigation into her stepbrother's violence and drug use expands. Is this all because of that drama with her stepbrother, I think, being charged or accused of abuse and drug use and abusing his girlfriend, I think it was? Why, if that's true, he should be totally reprimanded and punished. But why the whole royal family? Why do people just not like the idea of royalty anymore because of this? It continues to be a difficult year for the unusually popular royal family. King Harold, age 85, has been seriously ill, but refusing to abdicate, viewing his post as a lifelong obligation. Is that something that Norwegians are... Do you respect King Harold for this? Or are you hoping that he graciously steps aside? Because he will not abdicate. His son, Crown Prince Haakon, has been taking over more and more of his father's royal duties, but has made no backup himself. Haakon's daughter, Princess Ingrid Alexandria, now 20, and legal age to take over as regent and take on more royal responsibility. Norway's constitution allows only one heir to the throne to be the regent. If both the king and the crown prince fall ill or indisposed, a plenum within the government would take over. So people are worried about, like, the heir to the throne and who's gonna be king, or... Well, that might be about to change. Norway has two heirs to the throne, both of legal age. Oh, is this actually a controversy? That there's two heirs to the throne? Wait, doesn't it just go to the firstborn child? Or no? Members of parliament from 6 different political parties are proposing a change to the constitution to include a second heir to the throne as regent. Wow. So it seems like Norway is very concerned over making sure that there's somebody to step in as regent if the king is unable to perform his duties, which it already sounds like he's having trouble doing. Okay. But what about this whole getting rid of the royal family altogether? What's up with that? The anti-royalty Reds party wants to abolish the monarchy and has proposed such in its party program. So this is just the Reds party. is this not this article made it sound like everybody in Norway was just like, okay, down with the monarchy. We want to get rid of the royalty. Is it just a select group of people? Because that's a little different. NRK reported that the Reds think a referendum should be held after recent polls have shown a sharp drop in public support for the monarchy after these series of scandals. Wow. So there have been polls, and public support for the monarchy is dropping. That is true. Okay, that's good to know. Hakon's sister, Princess Martha Louise, is accused of selling her recent wedding to an American shaman for commercial gain and remains in conflict with her brother and father over commercial exploitation of her title right, turning her wedding and all that into a bit of a spectacle. Police also investigating the drug use and violent attacks by by the son of Hakon's wife. Marius Borg Hoiby. That's who it is. That's who it is. Oh my goodness. That's interesting. That's really interesting. That would be a really big deal. I don't know how close Norway actually is to abolishing Norway's monarchy, but it's interesting to me that this is even being talked about. Not something that us Americans have heard about at all. So this is brand new information to me. Whew. What else? Bergen tram line finally set for long overdue expansion. Well, I guess if you're in Bergen, you're pretty happy. The tram line is getting expansion. We don't even have tram lines in America. We can't even complain because there's nothing to complain about. We don't even have it. After 13 years of quarreling, government officials in and around Bergen have agreed to extend the city's modern tram line. Cool. Not too much to this story. That's just kind of like cool news about Bergen. Wow, extend it. So how far would something like this go? They settled on plans to extend the tram line to the suburban area of Åsane, building a tunnel through the hillsides. Okay. They're trying to extend it into suburban areas. Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah, that's kind of a short story, but good news, I think, for the people of Bergen and around Bergen, finally getting your tram extended. Tighter asylum rules for Ukrainians spark praise and criticism. Ukrainians taking asylum in Norway? Norway's government decision to tighten asylum and immigration rules for Ukrainian refugees. Oh, because Norway has been letting in Ukrainians. But I guess you can only let in so many? It's drawing praise and criticism. Some were shocked, while others think Ukrainians from safer areas of the country can travel home. Oh, wow. This is kind of tricky, isn't it? I know Norway has been such a huge proponent of Ukraine and helping Ukraine and Ukrainians so much during this conflict. So it's kind of sad to see Norway is catching some flack for this. I think sounds like Norway's doing most of what it can do, right? Norway is dropping its policy of collective protection for all Ukrainians. Wow. More than 84,000 Ukrainians have arrived in Norway since 2022. 82,000 have been granted collective protection. Wow. Most go through introduction programs to Norway, language training, and a third of the Ukrainian adults are now in the Norwegian workforce. Wow. Ukrainians are really getting acclimated into the Norwegian culture. Now the Prime Minister is questioning whether everyone coming to Norway from Ukraine, whether they need protection or if they're trying to avoid military service. Oh, that's a tough one, huh? Because you have Ukrainians seeking refuge in Norway for legitimate reasons to avoid war and violence and death. But inevitably, you get some people who are just trying to get into Norway to avoid being conscripted into the Ukrainian military, to avoid serving. I guess that kind of thing is unavoidable, huh? That's too bad. That's sad to hear about. Norway may reinforce Russian border. I'm surprised Norway hasn't already reinforced the Russian border. I know Norway is taking a very aggressive stance against Russia. There's constant surveillance along the border between Norway and Russia, but surprisingly few physical barriers. Really? That does surprise me. So the border between Norway and Russia is pretty small, and there's actually not much of a physical barrier stopping Russians from entering Norway. I'm sure there's soldiers. So that's likely to change. Russia poses a much higher defense threat and continues to send unwanted immigrants into neighboring countries. So this is it. They barely got a fence thrown together there. Norwegian government is considering new high fencing along the Russian border. That border fence is interesting, not just because it's forbidding, but it also contains sensors and technology to discover people moving closer to the border. That makes sense to me. Yeah, I think everybody would understand if Norway wants to build a big physical wall or border in between themselves and Russia, given the events of the past few years. I think that'd be totally reasonable if Norway wants to do that. What else do we have here? Plot thickens around Norwegians tied to pager explosions? Are we talking about the Palestinian or Hamas pager explosion thing? I heard a little bit about that. Norway's domestic intelligence agency confirmed that Oslo police are looking into questions flying around a man with both Norwegian and Indian citizenship listed as owner of a Bulgarian company tied to sales of the pagers to the Lebanese militia Hezbollah. Yes, these are the pagers, thousands, that exploded in Lebanon, killing dozens of people. There's a Norwegian tied to all of that who might have been responsible. Really? Well, it depends on what side of the argument you are on, what side of that conflict you're on, whether you hate this guy or love this guy. I don't know how Norwegians feel about that, but I had no idea about all that. Study shows a shift in Norwegian values. How so? How so? There's a reason why Norway's current left-center government is unpopular. Public opinion polls have shown a turn to the right for months. A new study shows that Norwegians have become less idealistic, more materialistic, and more conservative. Interesting. This is really important stuff because it's going to determine what kind of government is leading Norway, right? So right now Norway has a left-center government. So it sounds like whenever the next Norwegian elections are, there's going to be big changes, if this is true, if the Norwegian public opinion is shifting right and conservative. This study followed how Norwegians' views and values have developed and has detected what Ipsos calls a considerable break in the trend. Attitudes are more conservative and materialistic. More materialistic? What does that mean exactly? Norwegians like stuff? Materials? Like, more materialistic? Okay. Well, that is very interesting. The numbers still reflect a solid majority favor social democratic principles. Huh. So Norway is, I don't know, it's kind of conflicting information here. Fewer Norwegians think that salary differences are too large. And there's an increase in the number of Norwegians who think there's too much state regulation. Norwegians welcome private healthcare services instead of having to rely on the overburdened public health system. Wow, that's fascinating to me because a lot of the praise that countries like America have for Norway is the government services, the government run healthcare. But it sounds like Norway almost wants to become a little more like America with the private health coverage. I don't know. Maybe it's good to have both options? Maybe? I don't know. But the Norwegian values are shifting. That is pretty interesting. New Quisling film opens in Norway. The winds of war blow again. Ooh. Quisling. Quisling was a traitor, right? Vidkun Quisling was a traitor, yes, during Nazi Germany's occupation of Norway during World War II. His name has become synonymous with helping the enemy. Most Americans think of Benedict Arnold, but when we say a traitor. But Quisling is the Norwegian version of that, huh? A new film about his fate after Norway's liberation opened in his homeland this week, at a time when Europe is once again at war. True. Interesting timing on this. Huh, there's a movie about this, huh? Okay. Is this just like an ad for this movie? Or, okay. Anything, that's interesting. Interesting timing, too. Anything else here? Cash cleared for a comeback. Shops, restaurants, hair salons, cinemas, and other retail in Norway had to start accepting cash for goods and services again. Really? A new law went into effect that clarifies customers' rights to pay with cash. What? I mean, I didn't know that you couldn't pay with cash. Everyone in Norway, every place in Norway has to accept cash. Because in America, a lot of people do use cash. But you do find places who don't really accept cash, usually really small businesses. Norway is even more like technologically progressive. And I think even more Norwegians use credit cards and digital payment. So this is interesting to me that this is random. Norway suddenly, is making sure you can pay in cash. Norway's finance ministry stressed that customers in Norwegian retail establishments have always had a right to pay in cash, but it wasn't enforced. Interesting. So now in Norway, your right to pay in cash is like completely enforced. Everyone has to accept cash. I guess that's a good thing. It is money after all. And with that, I think that's a good place to stop. I am caught up with the Norwegian news. Really interesting stuff going on with the monarchy, with Ukraine, the Russian border, pager explosions. The government in Norway is changing values. Cash is being accepted. Really interesting stuff. I'm really glad I took some time to learn about this. I didn't know about any of this stuff. So anyway, if you enjoyed this too, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on any of this Norwegian news. That'd be awesome to hear from a Norwegian perspective. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Norway and learning about Norwegian culture, feel free to subscribe for more. Until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.